In order to do this head-to-head comparison between Elementor Pro and the Bricks Builder, I'm going to be using Fadi's tutorial from late last year, where he does a fairly in-depth 4.5-hour tutorial on all things Elementor Pro. I haven't been through the full tutorial yet, but I think it will prove useful in figuring out how I can achieve the same results in the Bricks Builder, knowing that everything he's showing can be done in Elementor Pro version 3. He has also provided these handy timestamps, so instead of me trying to record one long video, I'm going to break it up into several videos that follow this workflow. Now, this isn't meant to be a tutorial about the Bricks Builder. I'm still evaluating this page builder, and I want to see where there are similarities in building out a web page, where there are differences, and if there are things that can't be done in the Bricks Builder that can be done in Elementor Pro, but that are deal breakers, then I want to be able to highlight those. I'm also not going to be troubleshooting. If I get stuck on something and it's because of my lack of knowledge of the Bricks Builder, then I will come back to those in follow-up videos. If you do want to follow along, then you can set up your own free trial at bricksbuilder.io. And if you click on Try Bricks, then you'll be asked to put in a valid email address so that you can set your own password. And then once you do that, you'll get access to an instance on their multi-site. So now in the first part of Fadi's tutorial, he goes into how to get hosting, and then it covers some basic WordPress settings. We don't need to go into any of that here. We also don't need to go into creating a logo or looking for brand colors. I think we can just kick things off here with some Bricks features and settings that compare directly with Elementor Pro. Right, let's get into it. So I've got a list of a few things that he goes through that I think are important, and I want to be able to set them up in the Bricks Builder. So the first thing that's important to me is a sort of dark theme for the builder. And the way we can do that, if you also want a dark mode, then you can go to the settings builder mode, and then choose dark light or custom. Not entirely sure what custom is. And then we can kind of get started. Everything that he covers in almost the first sort of 45 minutes or so is setting up WordPress things. So we don't, as I said, we don't need to go through all of that, but I have set some things up here, as you'll see, pages which relate to menu and that. We'll probably get to use this later, but I think you know, if you're familiar with WordPress, how to set up pages and menus. So I won't go into those details, but I'm using one of the pages, the home page, to look at some of the other features that he covers. So much in the same way, we can drag the side panels. It doesn't look like it's possible to undock the structure panel here, the navigator, like you can do in Elementor Pro, but you can turn the structure on and off, which is quite handy there. We, at the top here, have our breakpoints, and I am aware of having looked at some settings in previous videos that we can set up other breakpoints like you can do in Elementor Pro. While we're at the top menu here, you can exit to WordPress, and this just takes you directly to the page. So that's obviously similar. Then up at the top here in the middle is, I thought this would be the width of the site, but this is actually, and I think quite handy, the width of the canvas. So we can change that width to anything that makes sense to us, which is tied to the breakpoints. As you can see, it's jumping across. Now, something that you can do in Elementor that I used to do a lot of because I was always nervous about things changing, which is part of the reason I'm looking at the Bricks Builder, is that you could save page to template. Now, I know from, and if you watched in previous videos, that I know you can save components and you can save widget and elements as templates, but it's not clear to me whether you can save this page as a template. I know that you can create a template and then build that out. So I think that's the way that the Bricks Builder handles templates. Then as far as him covering the style guide and those things, again, in the typography, we covered that. We are going to go into it, obviously, because we're going to build out the page, but we know that, or maybe just to cover again here, that we can use modern WordPress design systems inside of Bricks Builder. Elementor Pro is only starting to implement those in version 4. So we can set up our classes, we can set up variables for text and color with typography. I covered in the previous video, we can set up that typography scale. So there's a lot that can be done in here, which we'll tackle when we start building, and we'll sort of use his colors he's building with, and we'll set that up. But that can all be done in the theme styles. So here we've got the typography. I covered this already. We've got colors. So some are set up already. We can edit these, which maybe we'll do, but we can also obviously set up our own. And then I don't know what the spacing scale is just yet, but he does cover setting up global styles. And if you know Elementor, you can set up not global styles, but global padding for containers and that. This might be where that is done, but I also know that you should be able to create components and variables for the containers and the settings for that. That might be a little bit more than what we need to go in here, but I do mention it because those are the things I am looking for in new builders, because that's where we're hoping Elementor is going to be going to as well. So if we click out of that, and the reason I mentioned the padding in that is in the page, in the Bricks Builder, it looks like when we set up a section, it's the section layout that we give a width. Now, I cannot quite remember where that is, but just to give you an idea, if we just go to the front end here, I've set it up, and many people use this 1120. That is the section. In Elementor, it's 1120 for the container. But inside here, when the containers are placed inside the section, then there's padding left and right. So, I mean, it is important when you're building not to get stuck, because this can be, I probably don't need to tell you with any page builder, it's frustrating when you're like a white container background against a white page background, and you can't figure out why it's not flush on the edges. So in the section, if let me just go to page settings. Yeah, so page settings, I think is, yes. So this is where I set up the 1120. So that's now for the section. And the container, I'm not entirely sure just yet how to set up that padding, but it doesn't look like we can set up the section globally here. But again, this is probably a good example of what I meant by troubleshooting, where I'm not entirely sure, but that's got a lot more to do with my skill set and knowledge. The fact of the matter is we can put section in, we can put containers in, we can set width and padding. So those are right out the gate. We are good to go. Now, something else just here is that you can go to different pages right from the builder here, which I really like. Actually, he doesn't really cover this, but I'm not sure if you can do that in Elementor Pro. We can go to the templates. As I mentioned, here's where you can go and select templates, and that'll be part of having created them. Now, there isn't a button to go back to the structure, so the settings of each of these elements. But if you click on them, you go straight back to those settings here. On the left-hand side, this is just something that I had to figure out. This took a little bit of getting used to. These icons are all in relation to the element settings inside here. So when you jump to that, those changes are made. You can see if we change this padding, it highlights where those changes were made. I really like that. Also like that you can just take them off with, again, I'm not sure if you can do that in Elementor Pro even, but there you go. So that's kind of all that I really wanted to cover for here, because as expected, and as you saw right at the beginning, we've got tons of widgets in here. So as we go and build out this page alongside Fadi, we're going to see now what elements we can use that are similar to Elementor Pro and how those settings work, and if we can get it, how quickly we can get a very similar look and feel to what he's building. Again, I'm not sure that he is building a entire design system necessarily, how we would really go about doing it with modern web design, but we are just going to follow the tutorial to do this head-to-head comparison. And all of that will be in the next video. So join me for that.